It is 8:14 in the morning, August 6th, 1945. The sun is already warm over Hiroshima. Children are walking to school, factory workers are clocking in, street vendors are setting up their stalls. A trolley rolls through the city center, packed with commuters reading the morning paper, Chugoku Shimbun. A history professor standing at the foot of a bridge later recalls, "The sky was serene. The air was flooded with glittering morning light. People are going about their lives. Nobody is afraid." 31,000 feet above them, almost invisible against the blue, a single American B-29 bomber named the Enola Gay is making its final approach. Inside, Bombardier Major Thomas Farabee peers through his crosshairs. His target is a T-shaped bridge directly below, the Ioi Bridge. He can see it clearly. At 8:15 and 17 seconds, he releases the bomb. It is called Little Boy. It weighs 4.5 tons. It takes 43 seconds to fall. And then, in a fraction of a second, 350,000 people's lives change forever. What you are about to see is not just the story of a bomb. It is the story of a city that existed for centuries before that moment. A city of culture, of commerce, of ordinary human life. And it is the story of what happens after. How people who lost everything rebuilt not just buildings, but meaning. To understand where Hiroshima is today, we have to go back to where it all began. Long before the atomic age, Hiroshima was already a place of significance. It is 1589. The powerful feudal lord Mori Terremoto chooses this delta, where 7 rivers branch into the sea, as the site for his new castle. He names it Hiroshima, Wide Island. The rivers make it a natural fortress, a crossroads of commerce, a city destined to grow. By the early 20th century, Hiroshima has become one of Japan's most important cities. It sits on a broad, flat delta, 6 river channels cutting through it like veins, spilling into Hiroshima Bay. The city is alive with industry, trade, and culture. Textile mills, sake breweries, thriving markets, a streetcar network that rattles through wide avenues lined with traditional wooden homes and modern concrete buildings side by side. In 1940, the city's population is 343,000 people. They are ordinary people living ordinary lives, students studying for exams, mothers shopping at the morning market, fishermen hauling catches from the Seto Inland Sea. The city has theaters, temples, a famous castle, Hiroshima-jo, that locals call the Carp Castle, its white towers rising above the delta. But by 1945, the world is at war. Japan has been fighting for nearly a decade. First in China, then across the Pacific. The war has come home to Japan's cities. Tokyo has already been firebombed. Osaka, Kobe. American B-29s have burned city after city to the ground, killing hundreds of thousands of civilians with conventional incendiary raids. Hiroshima has been spared so far. That fact, that strange mercy, will soon become its curse. The United States has been deliberately holding Hiroshima back, not out of compassion, out of strategy. The Americans need an untouched city, an unburned city, so they can measure with cold precision exactly what their new weapon can do. Hiroshima is chosen because it is flat, it is dense, its geography will focus the blast like a bowl, and it is large enough to matter as a target. At the time of the bombing, the city's population has shrunk slightly to around 255,000 due to wartime evacuations ordered by the Japanese government. Soldiers and military workers bring the true figure closer to 350,000 on that particular August morning. The military headquarters for the defense of southern Japan is located here. There are barracks, munitions factories, shipyards, but 75% of those in the city are civilians, and they have absolutely no idea what is coming. 13-year-old Setsuko Nakamura gets up early that morning. She is the youngest of 7 children. She likes to organize her school paper, play organ with her mother, and learn English with her father. Today she is reporting for her very first day of work, like thousands of other students mobilized by the Japanese government to help with the wartime labor shortage. She puts on her school uniform, she eats breakfast, she says goodbye to her family. She does not know it is the last normal morning she will ever have. The Enola Gay had taken off from Tinian Island, a tiny speck in the western Pacific, at 2:45 in the morning. Colonel Paul Tibbets, who named the plane after his mother, is at the controls. His crew of 12 has been briefed. They know what they are carrying. Most of them do not fully understand what it will do. The bomb in the belly of the Enola Gay is a uranium-235 weapon, 10 feet long, 29 inches wide. The scientists at Los Alamos who built it have nicknamed it Little Boy. They have never fully tested this design. They are confident it will work. They are right. At 7:09 a.m., air raid sirens sound over Hiroshima. A weather reconnaissance plane is passing over. People take shelter. Then the all-clear signal sounds. The sky is quiet. People relax. They step back outside into the warm morning air. That brief alert, that false all-clear that leaves hundreds of thousands of people completely exposed in the open when the bomb falls. At 8:15 and 17 seconds, Little Boy detonates 1,900 feet above the Shima Hospital, directly over the city center. What happens next is beyond language. The temperature at ground level reaches 7,000 degrees Celsius in a fraction of a second. That is hotter than the surface of the sun. Everything within 500 meters of the hypocenter is simply vaporized, not burned, not destroyed, gone. Nuclear shadows, dark silhouettes burned into concrete walls, are all that remain of some people who were standing nearby. The blast wave travels outward at the speed of sound, flattening everything in its path. Buildings collapse inward, then outward. 2/3 of the city's structures are destroyed in seconds. 70,000 people die instantly. Setsuko Nakamura is at military headquarters, less than 2 miles from the hypocenter, listening to an officer speak to her class. She sees a flash of blinding bluish-white light through the window. She feels herself lifted off the ground, hurled through the air. And then, darkness. When she regains consciousness, she is pinned under the collapsed building, in total silence. Total darkness. She can hear a faint voice, a boy's voice somewhere nearby, crying for his mother. Around her, the city is on fire. Those who survived the initial blast stagger through an apocalyptic landscape. The rivers, those same 7 rivers that made Hiroshima beautiful, fill with the dying and the dead. Survivors describe people with the skin hanging from their bodies, people holding their eyeballs in their hands, walking in silence, their arms outstretched, their flesh burned away so severely they can no longer lower their arms against their sides. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a 29-year-old engineer from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, is walking to a Hiroshima shipyard when he sees the Enola Gay fly overhead. He later remembers, there was a white magnesium flash. The entire city was devastated in an instant. Badly burned and bleeding, he makes his way to a shelter. The next day, he catches a train home to his hometown. His hometown is Nagasaki. 3 days after Hiroshima, a second atomic bomb falls on Nagasaki. Yamaguchi survives both blasts. He dies in 2010 at age 93. By the end of 1945, the death toll from Hiroshima reaches 140,000. Many did not die in the flash. They died slowly over days and weeks from burns, from blast injuries, from something no doctor in Japan had ever seen before. A mysterious illness, sudden hair loss, bleeding from the gums, purple spots appearing on the skin, organs failing without explanation. It is radiation poisoning. The doctors have no name for it yet. They have no treatment. People call it the atomic bomb disease. The Japanese word for survivors, hibakusha, will carry a stigma for decades. Some hibakusha will face discrimination when trying to marry, to find work, to live in society, because people fear that radiation is contagious. The city of Hiroshima is gone. Where 350,000 people once lived, worked, loved, and raised children, there is now a flat, smoldering plain, a wasteland of ash and rubble stretching to the horizon. And one American military official surveying the destruction from the air writes simply, "The city no longer exists." But the American official was wrong, because the people of Hiroshima were still there. Not many, not at first. After the bombing, the population collapses to around 83,000. Survivors, returnees, people who had been outside the city when the bomb fell. They come back to a place that doesn't exist anymore. They sleep in the rubble. They dig through ash looking for the remains of their families. They build shelters from pieces of broken buildings. Within days, impossibly, stubbornly, life begins to reassert itself. 3 days after the bomb, Hiroshima's streetcar system partially resumes operation. Not because the infrastructure is intact, it isn't, but because workers get out there with whatever tools they have and clear the tracks. The message is simple and defiant. We are still here. The first post-war autumn brings a miracle that stops people in their tracks. Amid the ruins, in the poisoned soil that American scientists have declared will be barren for decades, plants begin to grow. Oleanders push up through the ash, then weeds, then grasses. The city of Hiroshima officially adopts the oleander as its flower because it was the first living thing to bloom in the ruins of the bomb. The scientists were wrong about the soil. They would be wrong about many things. In 1949, 4 years after the bombing, the Japanese government passes the Hiroshima Peace Memorial City Construction Law, a special act of parliament, unprecedented in Japan's history, providing direct national government funding to rebuild the city. Mayor Shinzo Hamai had lobbied relentlessly for it, traveling to Tokyo again and again, making the case not just for Hiroshima but for all of Japan, that this city must be rebuilt, and rebuilt as something the world had never seen. Not a military city, not a commercial city, a city of peace. Architect Kenzo Tange, one of Japan's greatest designers, wins the international competition to plan the new Hiroshima. His masterwork is the Peace Memorial Park, built directly over the Hypo Center. At its heart, the Genbaku Dome, the skeletal, twisted ruins of the former Industrial Promotion Hall, one of the only structures near the blast that partially survived, is preserved exactly as it stood on August 6, 1945. Not rebuilt, not demolished. Left as a wound in the city's center, a permanent witness. The park opens in 1954. Every year on August 6th, thousands gather there at 8:15 in the morning, the exact time the bomb fell. A bell rings, a minute of silence. The eternal flame burns, lit in 1964. And it will not be extinguished until every nuclear weapon on Earth is destroyed. It is still burning today. Here is what the headlines never tell you about Hiroshima. Today, Hiroshima is not a city defined by death. It is a city defined by extraordinary life. Its population has grown to 1.2 million people, nearly 4 times the population that existed on the day of the bombing. It is a manufacturing powerhouse. Mazda, the global car company, was born in Hiroshima and still operates its world headquarters here. The city produces electronics, machinery, rubber products, ships. Its port is one of the most active in Western Japan. The Hiroshima Carp, the city's beloved baseball team, named after the old castle, draw enormous crowds to their stadium by the river. Hiroshima-style okonomiyaki, a layered, savory pancake loaded with noodles, cabbage, and pork, has become one of Japan's most iconic regional dishes. Restaurants line the streets of Nagarakawa, the entertainment district. Young people crowd cafes and izakayas on Friday nights. The city rebuilt its streetcar network, the same one that was running again within 3 days of the bomb, into one of the most beloved urban tram systems in Japan. When other Japanese cities tore up their tram lines in the 1960s and 70s to make way for cars, Hiroshima kept theirs. Today, tourists ride the same routes that survivors cleared through the rubble 80 years ago. And every August 6th, the city does something unlike anything else in the world. As night falls, thousands of paper lanterns are placed on the surface of the Oda River, the same river that was choked with the dying in 1945. Each lantern carries a name, a prayer, a drawing from a child. They float slowly downstream in the darkness, a river of soft golden light, moving toward the sea. No speeches, no politics, just light and water and the names of the dead. Setsuko Thurlow, the 13-year-old girl who was blown through the air on the morning of August 6, 1945, devoted her entire life to telling this story. She traveled the world for 7 decades. She spoke at universities, at the United Nations, in front of presidents and prime ministers. She never stopped. In 2017, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons won the Nobel Peace Prize. Setsuko stood on the stage in Oslo and said, I speak because I feel it is my moral responsibility as someone who has intimate knowledge of what these horrific things can do to human beings. She was 85 years old, still speaking, still bearing witness. As of 2026, fewer than a handful of the original Hibakusha remain alive. The last direct witnesses to that morning are leaving us, one by one. Their passing raises a question that keeps Hiroshima's officials, educators, and citizens awake at night. When no one who was there is still alive to say I saw this with my own eyes? What then? How do you keep the memory real? How do you make history feel like truth, and not just a date in a textbook? The answer Hiroshima has chosen is radical honesty. The Peace Memorial Museum, rebuilt and reopened in 2019, does not soften what it shows. It displays the burned clothing of children, a lunchbox found in the ruins, the rice inside carbonized but still recognizable, a melted wristwatch stopped at 8:15, photographs the Japanese and American governments kept classified for decades. The museum does not ask for sympathy, it asks for witnesses. It wants you to walk out, unable to forget. And 1.7 million people visit every year. Heads of state, school children, tourists, military veterans. They all walk the same path through the park, past the eternal flame, under the arch of the memorial cenotaph, toward the dome. In May 2016, U.S. President Barack Obama became the first sitting American president to visit Hiroshima. He stood in the Peace Memorial Park, laid a wreath, and embraced a hibakusha, an 87-year-old survivor named Sunao Tsuboi. They held each other for a long moment. Neither man spoke. Some moments do not need words. Think about what it means to be Hiroshima. To have been, in the summer of 1945, the most obliterated place on Earth. To have had the most powerful weapon ever built by human hands detonated directly above your streets. To have had scientists declare your soil dead, your future impossible. And then to rise. Not in a year, not in a decade, over generations. Slowly, painfully, stubbornly. The way real transformation always happens. The way a city of 83,000 survivors becomes 1.2 million. The way a landscape of ash becomes a park of flowers. The way a wound in the center of a city becomes the most visited memorial on the planet. This is the before and after that no one can fully grasp from photographs. The before. A city of 350,000 ordinary people going about their ordinary morning on a serene August day. Children eating breakfast, a 13-year-old girl putting on her school uniform, a professor standing on a bridge looking up at the glittering light. The after. That same city, 80 years later. The trams still running, the river still flowing, lanterns still floating downstream every August. An eternal flame that refuses to go out. Hiroshima is not a story about what a bomb can do. It is a story about what people can do. About the quiet, relentless, extraordinary refusal to disappear. The oleanders bloomed in the poison. The streetcars ran through the ash. The children went back to school. And somewhere in that insistence on life, in that refusal to let one terrible morning define everything that comes after, there is something that matters far beyond one city in Japan. There is a lesson the whole world is still learning. If this story moved you, there are more like it, right here on Before. Because history is never really over. It lives in the cities we build and the ones we choose to rebuild. Subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.